This morning I'm drinking a delicious pumpkin spice coffee. My daughter brought this mug home. She gets the cutest mugs. It's that time of year again when everything is out pumpkin flavor. And we love the pumpkin spice coffee. One of my favorite treats used to be a pumpkin spice muffin. If I went to a donut shop, that's what I would get instead of a donut. If I went to the grocery store and they had the bakery section and they had pumpkin donuts or other pumpkin flavored treats, I'd always get the pumpkin muffins, especially the ones with the glaze on top. Now we're talking. I know there are a lot of people out there that talk about their carnivore lifestyle. And I want to tell you my story because this could impact your health. And I don't want anyone out there surprised after being on carnivore for a long time. This may happen to you. I just have to say that, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I have no medical training at all. What I would say is, if you are considering a carnivore lifestyle, please run it by your doctor because it is imperative that your health comes first. Some people say that being on a carnivore lifestyle diet has helped their health. So let me just explain my backstory so that I can explain my current story. You can make a decision with your medical team if it's right for you. A while back, I had a migraine that put me in the hospital and paralyzed me for 8 days. And I've done a YouTube about this. When I came out of the hospital, I found a doctor that talked about different foods that I should avoid, different foods that are good to eat, and so forth. So with his guidance, I was put on a special diet, no gluten, no soy, the least amount of sugar I could eat, no chewing gum because he said it has sorbitol. And I actually went to every grocery store and Walmart and all that, and I looked for every pack of gum I could find because I was a big gum chewer. And sure enough, sorbitol is in every single one. I did eventually find a gum called Pure. Pure gum comes in a variety of flavors. They have peppermint, cinnamon, strawberry, bubblegum, grape, and others. I think like a spearmint too. This gum does not cause migraines for me. It's aspartame free. So that just illustrates my point. When I went to this doctor, he told me all about different additives in foods. He told me what to avoid to get my health back on track. After being paralyzed from the migraine, it took me a whole year of recovery. When I went on carnivore, like I said, I was under doctor care because I had these awful migraines, extreme migraines, one could say, with rare side effects such as paralysis. And after a while, I had improvement in my health from what I was eating, just what I was eating alone. I wasn't really into exercising or anything like that at that time. So the doctors noticed that my asthma improved, my migraines improved, but it did take a year for everything to settle down and the inflammation to settle down. Everything took about a year. In addition, I was on some pretty harsh medications like gabapentin. After a year and my health improved, I started walking around my block and park near my home, and I had some other issues. They even did an ultrasound of my legs to make sure that my arteries weren't clogged or anything like that because of the symptoms I was still having after I was paralyzed. When I found out that there's nothing wrong, I could, exercise normally, there were no restrictions with my exercise, I decided that I would up my level of activity and start hiking in the woods. I had a couple of dogs at the time, so I did in fact do that. I hiked every morning with my dogs. After about 6 months between starting off with slowly walking around my neighborhood and block, in the park, of course, and then elevating that to hiking in the woods with my animals. It was a 3-mile loop, and I was able to eventually do that with ease. At first it was hard. As time went on, I was feeling really good in my walks. In fact, they become too easy. I decided that it was way too easy and I needed something more strenuous. So one of my relatives suggested joining the gym. I really was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm kind of an introvert. I didn't want to go to a busy gym and be exercising among a lot of people. If you are an introvert and you know what I'm talking about, there it is. I was just like, oh, oof, yeah, no, that's not for me. But I tried it. I figured, why not? I need to up my game. I need to do something other than a hike in the woods. A 3-mile hike is not doing it for me anymore. When I first got to the gym, there were a lot of people younger than me. At the time, I was in my 40s. A lot of people were younger than me. I continued to pursue a higher level of activity. They had nice treadmills. I started walking on the treadmill, and at the time, I was able to do 3 miles an hour, and I would bring a book with me, and I would do that for an hour. And I did this for, I don't really know the length of time because it was a long time ago, but I did this for a couple of weeks to maybe a month. And then one day I saw a woman, and she was on the elliptical. And I thought, oh, wow, okay, that looks really hard. And she looked to me like roller derby expert. The women that do the roller derby, and they're super fast on the skates, and they're very muscular. That's what she looked like. Now, if you're not familiar with an elliptical, it makes like a skiing motion. Your legs go back and forth like this instead of up and down like a Stairmaster. I figured, well, let me just try it. It can't be that bad. And I remember going up to the elliptical, and at first I was very shy. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And it's a step up. The treadmill is a step up too, but this was higher up. So safety was kind of a concern at that point. I stepped up and I put my right foot on the right pedal, kind of stepping over the left pedal. And then I took my left leg and I stepped up on the left pedal. And it was actually kind of scary. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was kind of scary. I thought to myself, what am I doing? And I was too embarrassed to just get right off and go do something else. I didn't want to be one of those people. I've seen a lot of people do that at the gym, and I think that's a big mistake. If you're one of those people that gets up on a machine and is like, not today, and gets off, don't do that, ever. Do it. Just try it. It can be life-changing. Just get up on that machine and try it, because you never know how it's going to be life-changing to you. I was very intimidated. I was never an athletic person. I was never good in gym class. I was the kid that came in last in all the, when the teacher said, go run around the field, I didn't do well with that. Now I'm up here on this machine and I'm thinking, I'm just going to embarrass myself to death. Well, I tried to push the pedals and it was excruciatingly hard. I talked to some people at the gym and I was like, this is really hard. Is it just me? Am I really that out of shape? And they said, no, the elliptical takes a certain muscle group. And this is what somebody said to me. And this was so encouraging that I want to share it for you. They said, if you are someone that's ever ridden a bike, the elliptical is literally like riding a bike but standing up. So you want to make sure that if you've ever ridden a bike and you try an elliptical, don't give up, because your muscle has memory that will return the more you do the elliptical. At first, I could only do about 2 minutes. This was after mastering a 3-mile hike in the woods with my dogs. I could do 2 minutes on the elliptical, and it was excruciating pain. Ow. I didn't give up because I saw this other woman, and yes, she was younger than me, but I thought, you know what? I was always taught, if you set your mind to something, you can do it. This wasn't about vanity. This wasn't about being 125 pounds. This wasn't about being skinny for me. For me, this was about being healthy. I didn't care about being skinny. I had already been paralyzed. I wasn't going back there. I needed to find a way to keep my legs strong and healthy, and I needed to find a way to recover from migraine damage, and I needed to find a way to get back on my feet again and proceed forward with my health, and I was determined. Over the next few months, I went daily, and I spent just a little bit of time. I would do my walk on the treadmill, and then I would get up on that elliptical, and I would just do a couple minutes. And then I made a goal, after I got over the excruciating pain of my muscles remembering, I started increasing my time. So now I would do 2 minutes. Next day I would do 3 minutes. Finally, I got up to 20 minutes. Once I was doing 20 minutes of exercising on the elliptical, I noticed that my weight had plateaued. I went to my doctor for a regular checkup and explained to him, hey, I've been exercising harder than ever. I'm on the elliptical. I'm on the treadmill. I'm exercising almost 2 hours a day between the two. Plus I did a little bit on the exercise bike. Pretty soon, I wasn't afraid anymore to get up on that elliptical and ride it into the wind. Back to my doctor, I explained to him, hey, I'm doing this new regimen of exercise. This is all the exercise I'm doing. And he said, that's quite an achievement. I said, okay, but here's a new problem. I'm not losing weight anymore. I'm stalled. I'm at a plateau. I don't know what to do. He had some recommendations with food, and I started experimenting at home. Every day I started eating cabbage, and I would add a little bit of sunflower seed to it, and I would cook it in canola oil at the time. This was a decade ago, mind you. I would cook it in canola oil because these were the recommended foods he was telling me to eat. In addition, I would have bacon. I would have steak, chicken, pork chops, anything else I wanted, for dinner. And for breakfast, I would have a fruit smoothie, and I would also have eggs. I didn't really have many starchy carbs at this point. Like, I didn't eat French fries. I didn't eat potatoes. I didn't eat rice. I didn't eat tortillas. It was mostly vegetables, fruit, meat, and oils. When I went to the doctor, he told me that my cholesterol was a little high, but it was really good. And he attributed that to all the exercise I did because I wasn't eating a low cholesterol diet. There came a day where I decided to just eat protein. That's all I was eating. I didn't even eat vegetables that much. I just happened to pick up a piece of steak one day. I ate the steak, I ate some bacon, and I started eating more meat than anything. And I lost 50 pounds. When I went back to my doctor, he was amazed. How did you do that? I said, well, to be honest, I'm not really in the mood to eat anything. I've just been eating meat, like just meat constantly, bacon, steak, chicken, fish, just constant meat. And he's like, well, what about vegetables or carbs or anything? I'm like, not really. The place I worked at was conducting some physical fitness testing on its employees, something to do with lower insurance rates. When I went to get my labs done, the results came back that my cholesterol was higher than it had ever been. Despite all the exercising that I was doing, my cholesterol was going up because now I'm only eating meat, specifically red meat, for the majority of it. At the next checkup with my doctor, I explained this to him and I showed him the results. And he said there were new studies out that suggested high cholesterol doesn't necessarily mean future heart problems. So he wasn't worried about it. That was the bottom line. He was not worried about my cholesterol being higher. He was grateful that I was losing weight. One day I went into an appointment with his office and he announced that he was retiring. He had an intern working with him and his APRN that day. The intern took me aside and did some quick testing, heart rate, blood pressure, things like that. And my heart rate was very, very low. The APRN came in, who knew me from being there for so long, going to this doctor. The heart rate is low because of all the exercise. When you exercise a lot, and athletes, which I'm certainly not an athlete, but when you exercise, or if you're athletic, it will naturally lower your heart rate. So there's no reason for concern. But then my doctor retired. It was a very sad day for me because I had been through such a hard journey with this doctor in my life, and he really cared. He really took the time to get to know somebody. He really took the time to help you get better health. And I didn't think I'd ever find anybody like him, and I was right, I haven't. This new doctor didn't know anything about me. I don't even know if she read my medical charts. COVID hit. When COVID hit, I had the pneumonia, and I was very, very, very sick. While I was resting, I turned purple, and you feel like you're drowning. I had to sit up in bed. I couldn't lay flat. My fever spiked. I don't even know how high. And I had tremors. I may have passed out. I don't know. Something happened in that moment. I thought I had a seizure. I went to my normal GP. She didn't think anything was wrong. She didn't hear any rattling in my chest. I told her about the tremors. She didn't really think anything of it. Life went on. A year after the last physical I had with my prior doctor, my new doctor asked me to come in to do a whole physical, do the blood work, and all that. Because I had COVID so bad, I had dropped weight. I couldn't eat. I had no appetite. During this time, all the gyms closed down. I didn't really have any way of exercising at that point from my house. And it was still cold out at this time. It was too cold to go to the park. The park was kind of covered with snow and ice. It wasn't appealing to me to go down to the park in snow and ice. Went to a sporting goods store and I bought an elliptical for my home. Using the elliptical at my house was not the same as using the elliptical at the gym. I didn't do it as often. I wasn't disciplined with it. And I really thought that it's the other people at the gym that give me the drive to go. Even though I'm an introvert, I enjoy going to the gym, working out with other people. It even surprised myself. I didn't really use the elliptical that I had bought. My daughter used it more than I did. My doctor became concerned because I had lost too much weight. She asked me what I was eating, and she said that she didn't want me to lose any more weight from where I was at that point. So I incorporated carbs back into my diet. I started with popcorn. It was just plain popcorn with salt that I made myself on my stove in the canola oil. A few months later, a coworker took my photo, and I almost didn't recognize myself. And I looked at it, and I said, who is this? This is me? And he said, yes. And he was like, you don't really look like that in person, though. He's like, I think it's the camera angle or something. Shortly after that, the gyms reopened again. I tried to work out, and I was no longer able to work out like I had worked out before. I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know if it was my asthma. I don't know, but I could no longer do what I used to do. Before I got sick with COVID, I could do 4 miles in 16 minutes on the elliptical. I had worked myself up to that whole time I was on the elliptical at the gym. I was a speed demon. I couldn't breathe well. I needed an inhaler. I hadn't used an inhaler in years because the doctor that helped me stop eating gluten and soy and all these other things, it actually helped my asthma as well as helping my migraines. So I didn't even have a rescue inhaler. Well, now I need a rescue inhaler because I'm at the gym and I can't breathe. When I went back to the gym, also, I didn't do the treadmill anymore. I just did the elliptical. So I would get up on there and I would go very slow and I would work my way up because I thought, well, if I did it once, I could do it again. And I started doing it for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. I started working my way up again until I got to 20 minutes. When I went back to my doctor that year, I had gained 50 pounds. My doctor was no longer telling me that I shouldn't lose any more weight. Now my doctor was telling me I was obese. I told her, I don't know what to do. You know what? I'll stop eating the popcorn. I hadn't eaten carbs before. I was just eating meat. So I'll just go back and stop eating the popcorn. I did that, and in 3 months, I lost 20 pounds. She had me come back for a quick weight check. And when I went back, she was very pleased that I had lost 20 pounds. She said, keep going. You still need to lose some more weight. About 6-7 months after that, it was time for my physical again. I went back and I had gained all that weight back again. Now I've gained back those 20 pounds. I said to her, I feel like I'm on a yo-yo diet. I don't know what to do. I stopped eating the popcorn, but I didn't go back to straight steak and bacon. Now I'm eating, a sweet potato here and there. I don't know what to do. Should I not be eating a sweet potato? I'm confused. And she said, what are you doing for exercise? And I said, I'm doing the elliptical like usual. And she said, well, I want you to start incorporating some weight training. I started incorporating weight training, and I didn't notice the pounds moving on the scale. I didn't lose any pounds, but I did gain muscle. For the last several years, I have not been able to lose weight. I have been stuck in a plateau, and it's not a healthy weight. I have tried every diet on the planet. I have tried carnivore. I have tried keto. I've tried the American Heart Association diet, which is essentially the DASH diet. I've tried the Mediterranean diet. I've tried the OMAD diet, where you eat one meal at night. I've tried fasting. I've tried taking magnesium supplements. I've tried taking turmeric. Finally, I had a coworker that told me, you need to stop eating red meat. Are you still eating red meat? Yeah, I eat red meat, but not like I used to eat red meat, where that's pretty much my staple food. He said, don't eat red meat. Just cut it right out of your diet. That's your problem. You're eating red meat. Just knock it off. I stopped eating red meat. I gained more weight. By now, I'm super fatigued. I can't hardly get out of bed. I have a job to do. I'm working tremendous hours at my job. I'm exhausted. The life of me has just poof, gone. I went back to my doctor. I explained all this to her. And of course, her reaction was, you're not reading labels. You're probably eating the junk they put in food, like corn syrup and fillers, and you don't realize what you're doing. And I said, no. I said, this journey started years ago in my 40s. I read every single label before I put it in my mouth. I said, I can't have gluten, soy, wheat, so I have to be very careful with what I eat. I said, I read every single label. I eat whole vegetables. I do eat frozen vegetables, but I make sure that's it. There's nothing else in them. Like some vegetables in the frozen section will have like sauces. I make sure mine do not. I knew of a nutritionist, not my nutritionist, but somebody who is a nutritionist. And I asked them, are frozen fruits and vegetables the same as fresh fruits and vegetables? Does it make a difference? And this is what they told me. Frozen fruits and vegetables actually have more nutrients in them. So they're actually better for you. I'm just saying what they told me. I'm not saying it's fact. If you know otherwise, please leave a comment for me, because we're all learning here about this stuff. I'm not an expert in this field, and this is why I'm telling my story. And I eat frozen blueberries and strawberries for smoothies because it's cheaper than fresh blueberries and strawberries. My doctor had me come back 3 times in 1 year, and she finally told me that she wanted me to see a nutritionist. I went to see a nutritionist. And at the first appointment, I told her exactly what I just told you all, that I've tried every diet in the world. I've tried increasing my exercise. I've tried adding weightlifting. I've done everything I can. The scale is not moving. Asked me specifically what I eat. And I explained to her, I eat vegetables, most meat except no red meat. I eat yogurt, cheese, fruit. She said, you eat very healthy. And I said, what am I missing? Should I be eating red meat? Should I be eating butter? I don't eat butter. At one time, I switched from canola oil to olive oil. So at this time, when I went to my nutritionist, I was only eating olive oil. And now I was eating real butter, like the Irish butter. That's 100% grass-fed butter. The only thing I wasn't eating was red meat. Is there anything that you see that I'm doing wrong? Can you put me in the right direction here? Because I have tried every diet. I have never been able to get this weight off of me. I don't know what's going on. It used to come off easily when I just ate the meat, but I've tried that again. It's not working this time. I don't know what happened. Did I mess up my metabolism? And she said, well, there are 18 things that can happen to your body when you're over 50, and you can't help most of them. And I'm like, oh, so you're telling me that I'm not going to be able to lose weight, that it's impossible? And she says, no, I'm not saying that, but we've got to figure out what will work for you. And I said, well, yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. So she made some notes, and this is what she said. You need to, when you serve your dinner plate, take 4 bites of food off of the plate. Just scoop it right off your plate. No matter what it is you're eating, just take it off. She told me to not eat eggs in the morning for breakfast. She told me to have a smoothie in the morning for breakfast. And she said that at lunch, I should have a half a sweet potato or some kind of starch, carb, or a tostada. And I just looked at her and I'm like, you want me to eat tostadas? Oh, like that's going to be healthy for me? And she said, well, you need food for your brain. Carbs are health food for your brain. You need them. You need carbs. She goes, I think what the problem is you're eating too much at dinner. You're not eating starchy carbs. So I said, so let me get this straight. You want me to have a tostada at lunch? You want me to have a smoothie in the morning? When do I have eggs? She goes, oh, you shouldn't be eating eggs at all. That will raise your cholesterol. She goes, the other thing, I think that you don't exercise as much as you did, and that's your problem. I said, okay, so if I go back to exercising an hour on the treadmill, 20 minutes on the elliptical, and doing the exercise bike or something else, I'll lose weight. Yes. How soon will I see this weight loss? And she said, within days, it will just start to melt off. I said, oh, so that's that easy, just exercise more? Yep, that's what I'm telling you, you're not exercising enough. You went from exercising all this time, and now you're not exercising enough. While it is true, I was no longer doing the treadmill for an hour, elliptical for 20 minutes, and bike. I didn't have the energy anymore. I could hardly get out of my own way to do my job or to do anything, even at my house. I'd be at home and I'd want to just sit on the couch. She also told me to take a vitamin supplement every single day. She said that would for sure boost my energy. And I said, well, I already take this other supplement. She said it didn't matter. Just take this one anyway. I'd try anything at this point. So I took her notes and I did every single thing she said. I went back 48 days later. I recorded everything I did in a diary. I took 4 bites of food off of my plate every single night. I never had more than this amount of meat on my plate at night and 1 cup of vegetables. She told me to go ahead and eat as many vegetables as I wanted to, but because she told me to take 4 bites of food off at night, I was only having this much meat at night, which is like about 4 ounces. So because of that, because I was only having about this much meat at night, I had nowhere else to take the 4 bites from, so I took them from the vegetables. I did incorporate a smoothie in the morning. She told me to have egg whites. So I was having egg whites and a scrambled egg with mushrooms and cheese once a week. And at lunch, I would have cottage cheese and I would have a tostada and maybe add a little salsa to make it in some cumin. Somebody had mentioned that cumin will help you with weight loss. 48 days later, I just went back last week. I sat down. She looked at me. How's everything going? And I said, despite doing every single thing you said, I've only lost 3 pounds in 48 days. There was another person that did this exact same diet that I had done. They lost 30 pounds. So I said to her, this is what I'm talking about. No matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, I'm not losing weight. She had also told me to bring back the red meat. I hadn't eaten red meat in years, but she said, start incorporating 4 ounces of red meat in your diet once a week. It won't hurt you. It's the same as any other meat. I was exercising at least an hour on the treadmill, and I was doing 250 crunches with 5-pound weights and 20 squats with 10-pound weights. I did take a daily vitamin like she recommended, and I developed insomnia. I'm getting up in the morning. I have my breakfast around between 7 and 7:30 when I wake up. I have a cup of coffee with stevia, and I have almond milk, the unsweetened almond milk. I have a smoothie, and I ran it by her the first time I saw her to see if it was okay. I have no more than 1 cup of frozen fruit. It's usually about 3/4 cups. It's frozen strawberries, frozen blueberries, a mix of those. I do have 1 banana, and then I have 2 tablespoons of all natural peanut butter. You can find peanut butter with no oil in it. It's peanut butter and salt, and that's it. A piece of unsweetened chocolate, just 1 square, and it's also 2 cups of unsweetened almond milk. 48 days ago when she heard this, she said, how about this? How about you try half a cup of frozen fruit, blueberries, strawberries, mix it up. Half a cup only. The rest ice, no banana. It's okay to have the chocolate and water, no almond milk, no peanut butter. Okay, I tried that. She also told me not to have any more food until between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you've ever been really, really super hungry, you start to get the shakes, you don't feel well, you feel unwell. I'd have to lay down. I didn't feel well at all. And mind you, I don't eat white sugar. Like, I don't eat sugar in my food other than fruit sugars, stevia, but I don't eat white processed sugar. A few days, I couldn't take it. I couldn't function. So I just did my smoothie as I always did it, with the peanut butter, the chocolate, the banana, the fruit, and the almond milk. For lunch, I would do the tostada, the cottage cheese, salsa, some cumin, and then once a week I would have the egg. I explained to her, by eating the smoothie the way I prepare it, I'm satisfied until at least 1 o'clock. If not, I can last until 3 sometimes. And then I have a small dinner. And this dinner is no more than 4 ounces of meat with a vegetable, broccoli with cheese, or green beans with butter. She did tell me the first time I went to cut out oil. She said, no more olive oil, no more canola oil, no oil, nothing, no oil. She goes, butter, use very sparingly. I switched to olive oil cooking spray, so I have had no oil at all for 48 days, except what's in the tostada, which she told me to eat. I had also stopped eating the tostadas because I noticed that the carbs in them is pretty high. That's a lot of carbs. I'd rather get my carbs from a sweet potato or something else like that. I figured I could get my carbs somewhere else. I don't need to eat a fried tostada in oil, even though they're delicious. I did ask her if I should have whole yogurt, like the whole milk yogurt, or non-fat Greek yogurt. And at the time, she told me no whole milk yogurt. After hearing that, I was doing the smoothies, then I would have lunch between 1 and 3 with the yogurt bowl, and then I would have dinner, which was no more than 4 ounces of meat plus the vegetable. She said, well, that's your problem right there. You're not eating enough protein. When I went to her the first time, though, she told me I ate too much protein. She said it was bad for my kidneys. She didn't want me eating that much protein. She wanted me to cut back to between 50 and 70 grams of protein a day. She said, you need to eat more protein because you're working out a little bit more with the weights. So I said, okay, how would you like me to incorporate that into my day? And she said, you eat a yogurt bowl at lunch. I said, yeah, and eat leftovers from dinner the night before. At this point, I was very confused. I said, you want me to have dinner for lunch and dinner? You want me to have a turkey burger with cheese and broccoli with cheese for lunch, and you want me to have that pretty much again, the meat and the vegetable again at dinner? No yogurt bowl. She goes, oh no, you can have the yogurt bowl too. When am I going to have the yogurt bowl? She goes, you can have it at lunch. So she wants me to have a yogurt bowl at lunch, and then she wants me to have a turkey burger or steak or chicken or whatever the protein is with the vegetable. She wants me to have all that food. So I tried it for 3 days. I was so full I couldn't move. My energy went way down. and I gained the weight back plus some. That it took me 48 days to lose 3 pounds. I've gained it back plus some. I'm just putting this out there for you all. I don't have the answer. If I had the magic answer to weight loss, I'd be talking about it. Nothing seems to work for me. I'm certainly not going to have a full dinner at lunch and a dinner at dinner. To me, that's ridiculous. To me, that's like telling, if I was a person that drank beer or alcohol, it would be like saying, just go ahead and have extra alcohol. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't see how adding food to somebody who is struggling losing weight with the food they're eating is going to help lose it. That just doesn't make sense to me. I just wanted to share with you my journey. If any of you have had similar experiences, or if you have trouble losing weight, or if you have found the key to losing weight, if you struggled with losing weight after COVID, or if you are eating healthy and you can't seem to lose any weight and you don't know what the problem is, let me know. We're in this together. I want to learn from other people. I want to hear from you, because I certainly don't have an answer.